Definitely something amazing. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Our topic today is achieving miracles. Ernest Holmes wrote in his book, Questions and Answers on the Science of Mind, page 18, "A miracle is merely something we are not accustomed to seeing or experiencing. In reality, there are no miracles, for what seems to be a miracle is but the effect of a supremely natural law. The faith that can bring about the least demonstration can bring about the greatest." Please look on the screen or in front of your program and read this affirmation with me, with faith. Pulled by the vision of my life for 2016, I am catapulted by Spirit into a new order of being in which my dreams manifest. I have a more expanded view of myself as Spirit in motion. At each turning point, I am guided by Spirit into achieving one miracle after another. Yes.
So, see if this sounds a bit familiar to you. When I was growing up, I got the impression, it may not have necessarily been the intention of the ministers, but I got the impression that miracles were something that an outside God did as a reward for being good. Being a good person. And of course, Jesus was the highest of the bestest of the best. And so that's why so many miracles were given to him. And what I love is how my concept of miracles has expanded over the years. And I remember one of the big turning points, this month we're talking about turning points. One of the big turning points for me was in 1986, when I started attending a Course in Miracles group, in which I learned a new definition of miracles. Miracles being a shift in perception that removes the blocks to the presence of God, to experiencing that oneness of life itself and that presence of the divine as love. Actually, a return to love and just the feeling of interconnectedness. And that to me was just such a huge turning point, because then I realized every time I shifted myself back to the awareness of love's presence, I was performing miracles. Isn't that cool? And the thing is in that state of mind, of that wide awake awareness and that feeling of interconnection and love with all people, miracles, things that used to seem like miracles, happen more naturally. In other words, I get more ideas to support my life, and the universal law works upon those new ideas, and they come into expression. So turning points, which are, to me, are a movement back into that awareness of oneness and wholeness and the perfection of spirit as all life, as me as all life, leads to something called tipping points. We've heard about tipping points as well too, right? Where we usually think of it in terms of mass consciousness, when enough of us hold a certain belief on the planet, and it tips things in the direction of more peace, love, and joy, more of the kingdom of heaven on earth. And so we do that each time we perform a miracle by shifting our consciousness back into alignment with love. Isn't that cool? It's really that simple. So today I wanted to focus on what it is to have M&Ms. Miracle mindsets. A miracle mindset. Not the candy. You're ready for me to throw M&Ms out. No. Dan was. So miracle mindsets. So let's look at what it is to live from a place of a miracle mindset. So you tell me which of these is the miracle mindset. It's easy. I live in a state of ease and grace. Or it's hard. And yet, how often do we find ourselves, maybe not necessarily saying it's hard, but being in a state of struggle with life or in resistance to life? You know, all of those are ways that we are living from maybe a deep, unconscious idea that life is hard. And so this beautiful shift, this beautiful awareness, this miracle mindset of ease and grace is so freeing. In Pam Grout's book, E Squared, this is what she says about it's hard. She says, it's hard is a 4-letter word. And she goes on to say that it's probably the most dangerous word in the English language. And why is it? Because every time we say it's hard, it's like if our good is coming to us, it's like we're going like this, holding it away. It's hard. We're holding it away. And really, the universe is designed for ease and grace. So feel that. I want us just to feel that. And we can go cancel at the end of it, but just feel that when we say it's hard. It's hard. And just push your hand out in front of you. And it's hard. You're holding everything that you want at bay. Everything. All of the good that you choose when you say that word, when you think that kind of thought. And that's why our final song that we normally do here is I Release, I Let Go. No more struggle, no more strife. It's about getting out of the it's hard mindset. So, the way that we do this more gracefully is when we have a new idea or we have a concept of what we want to achieve. We go into a state of surrender, which is it's actually part of our spiritual mind treatment that we teach here, is we let go, we let God, we surrender, we let the universal law do the work. And then we just keep our attention open for any guidance that might come through in the process. But we don't, if we're into struggle, we know that that we're back into that old mindset. Yeah, we're back into this. Beautiful. The next miracle mindset is, oh wait, I'm not going to tell you which one it is. You tell me which one it is. That's just the way it is, or what else is possible? You're very good students. More miracles for all of you. So our human eyes tell us that's the way it is. It's a fact. How often do we get caught in that? And yet with spiritual eyes, we keep our mind open to possibility. What's possible? What are the possibilities? This is the all things are possible mindset. So think about what happens when we say, well, that's just the way it is. Where is our attention? It's on what is. And when we put our attention on something, what happens? It grows. We continue to create the what is. So when we complain about what is, when we resist what is, we continue to create what is. The same experience. What happened yesterday, today, and on, some variation of it. So this new mindset of what is possible opens our minds to new ideas, new concepts, new awarenesses, new solutions. Do you feel the difference? It's very expansive. There's a beautiful quote by Charles Fillmore that I want to share with you on Talks and Truth. He said, "It is your mission to express all that you can imagine God to be. Let this be your standard. If you imagine that it is possible to God, it's also possible to you." He said, let this be your standard of achievement. If it's possible to God. I hear a huge sigh back there, Donna. If it's possible to God, it's possible to you. This is a field, we live in this field of pure potentiality and possibility. If you remember, the basic premises that I had shared with you these past several weeks were based on the concept that these basic spiritual teachings of science of mind. This is Back to Basics Month, in January, throughout all of the various communities, whether it's the unity communities or the religious science communities and all New Thought communities, is back to basics. So here are the teachings that really drew me and kept me engaged in this beautiful teaching. There is one source of love and goodness that is a field of pure potentiality, infinite potentiality, that flows through us, surrounds us, and is all. And it is for us. The world is, the universe, the presence of the divine is a friendly presence. It is for us. And then the concept that what follows from that is that we are a center of divine operation through which this field of pure potentiality and possibility flows. And the breath keeps that going, doesn't it? The breath keeps that flow going, as well as our mindset. And so the goodness and the love of God flows in, through, and as us. Our thoughts then provide a mold for the creative flow. Our thoughts, I go back to that beautiful quote by Emerson, stand guard at the portal of your mind. Stand guard of the thoughts that you allow to go through your mind and what you verbalize. Be aware. Notice what you're saying and you're thinking. And it's not about feeling guilty or anything, but it's about, if I catch myself, I just refocus. I refocus and bring it back to a higher truth. And so the next principle is, as I choose to focus on what I want, and as I choose to look for the good, I create more good. And since I'm made in the likeness and image of God, my worthiness to receive what I desire in life is inherent. I don't have to be more worthy. We already are that. And once I release my spoken desires to the creative flow, life handles the details. So each one of these miracle mindsets are set up for the purpose of deepening into those basic truths and living from that place. So what is possible? The follow-up question for what is possible, once you get the idea, you get a great idea, and if doubt starts creeping in, then here's the next question you ask yourself. What would I do next if I knew that this was possible? What would I do next? So I want to share a story with you where I put that into practice, more or less. And about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, I'm not sure exactly when it was, Dan had this idea. It's been kind of brewing in him that it was time for me to get a new car. So he said he would do the research, and all I needed to do was just come and be there when it was time to sign for the car. So we looked at a few cars and stuff, but and I knew what I wanted. So Anyway, we arrived at the dealership, signed the papers, and handed over the check, and then went to get out in the car, and the man started giving us details on how the whole system worked and everything. And I said, "Where's the GPS?" And he said, "There is no GPS." And I go, "Oh." So anyway, I didn't say too much, and I know Dan was surprised too, because he thought that we were supposed to have GPS. So we got home, and I said, "This isn't going to work for me, not having no GPS." Immediately, Dan was plastered to the ceiling. Like, "What?" And I said, it's the wrong car. It's just the wrong car, And he's like totally freaked out. And so anyway, I realized, rather than do my normal thing about defending myself, I didn't defend myself. I was so proud of myself. I decided to turn within instead and listen and go into the field of possibilities and see what else was possible. And it suddenly came to me, oh, well, maybe we could get one of those portable GPSs. And, I kind of remembered one of my friends having one in their car. And so Dan immediately came down off the ceiling, jumped into enthusiasm, and said, "That's a great solution," because the other alternative would be paying for like an extra $3,000 for another car, that had the GPS system. And this was $250, so it was a huge savings. Well, that's, it's those little things in life that are opportunities for us to move into the field of possibilities, is when these things come up. And I have to honor Dan for being responsive, because he was so overjoyed at my decision that he ran upstairs and immediately looked up the what the options were in terms of a portable. And the other thing I said to him too, which he liked even better, is I said, "Think about it this way: if it's portable, we can use it in your truck too." So that sealed the deal. Okay, so a miracle mindset of what is possible. Okay, so the third one is, so here we go. Tell me which one is the M&M. I'm alone, I'm all alone, or I'm connected to everything.
I'm connected to everything.
All right. So let me repeat the definition of a miracle again. It's a shift in perception that removes the blocks to our awareness of the presence of God. And I'm connected to everything mindset. So that's what a miracle is. It returns us to that state of connection. So if you remember, experiment number 4 that we did last week from the E² book had to do with having exactly this, an experience of interconnectedness with everything. And this is the way that it read. You were supposed to say, "Okay, universe, I expect to be shown a glimpse of my connection to you, complete with awe and magnitude. I'm going to be consciously receptive, listening and trusting that I catch a glimpse of the wonder and glory of the field of infinite possibilities surrounding and infusing all that is." Within 72 hours. We had like a little time frames within 72 hours. So what I decided to do with my snowy weekend, last weekend, was to do some of the processes that were in the Conscious Loving book that we're using in our practitioner training. And one of the exercises was to clear up any incompletions. And I put it in the greeting of the newsletter this last week so that people could see all the different questions. But I decided to focus on the last 2, which were the most powerful. So if you're interested in what the other questions are, just take a look at our newsletter greeting, or if you don't have it, let me know after service and I'll make sure you get this. But there are a series of questions. The last two, again, are the most powerful, and they are, whom do I need to forgive, and to whom do I owe appreciation, which includes anyone that you think may have harmed you. Okay? So I decided to focus on those, and I did it through the journaling process. And so I got quiet, I listened, I wrote letters of forgiveness, letters asking forgiveness, letters of appreciation. I mean, I really took quite a bit of time doing that. So, within a week, you can see this here, I'm not going to tell you who it is, but within a week of doing that process, I received this letter. I'll read you just certain parts of it. To me, that is the interconnectedness and the miraculousness of life. And listen to what this says. It starts out, Dear Kathleen, I'm in a spiritual program. Part of the process is going to people I have harmed in any way and taking responsibility for who I was while I was a part of their lives. She goes on to say, I had unreasonable expectations of you, and so on. And so I'm not going to go into the details. And she ends it with, if there is anything I can do to make this right, please let me know. If there is anything I have done that I am unaware of, please let me know, and I will also make it right. I am glad I met you. I thank you for being so kind to me and believing in me. And the interesting thing was, it arrived on the same day that the newsletter went out. The same day that I sent out that same type of thing to the rest of the community. And I was thinking about this. Who knows? She may have written, it doesn't have a date on it, but she may have typed it up over the weekend while I was in the process of doing the same thing. And you might say, well, that's just a coincidence. But we know, we've been in this teaching long enough to know that these are not coincidences when things like this happen. To me, this was like a high five from the universe. It's like, okay, you got it. And processes like this return us to a state of love, a state of openness to receive love. So the interesting thing about this particular woman is I never have held anything against her. When I think about her, I just think about how much I adore her. So it was amazing to me that she felt that she had somehow harmed me. But that doesn't matter, does it? What matters is that she did this for herself. And I tried to call her, and I left a message and let her know how much I appreciated her taking the time to do this beautiful act of love, and that I received it with love. So again, when we do these processes, the letters that I wrote, I didn't send. I could, but what I know is just in the process of doing it, I shift my energy, and because I'm connected with these other people, they get the blessing as well. It's because it's all energetic. It's all energetic. I love how life works. I love it. So to me, that was a huge example of the interconnectedness of life. This reminds me, it takes me back to the basic teachings of Jesus, where he said to love God with all your heart and all your mind and all your soul, with your entire being, and your neighbor as yourself. Isn't that what we do when we do completions? They're acts of love. So again, when I look back at some of the teachings I was brought up with, the idea that we were taught was, look at the miracles that God can do. And what I realized as I've deepened into the teachings of Jesus, what he was really saying You remember he said, "These things I do, and even greater things you shall do." His message was that look what miracles you can do, we can do, in God consciousness, in the energy of love, in the energy of our interconnection. I want to share this beautiful quote from Ernest Holmes in The Science of Mind. It just says it so beautifully. There is a point in supreme moment of realization when we merge with the universe. That's what happens when love takes place. Where a sense of oneness of all life so enters our being that there is no sense of otherness. It is here that the mentality performs seeming miracles, because there is nothing to hinder the whole from coming through. We can do this only by dwelling and meditating upon the immensity of life. The whole of it is brought to the point of our own consciousness. I remember when I first heard this, I was like, how could this be possible? That the whole of all that God is brought to the point of my consciousness from contemplating this, the immensity and the wholeness of life. And this is how I got around all of this. I realized that if God is all there is, and God is indivisible, there is no divisibility in spirit, then the whole has to be centered everywhere. It has to be centered everywhere, the whole of it. All the power, all the love, all the peace, all the joy, all the harmony, all the intelligence, all that is centered everywhere at the same time. So I'd like you to turn to your neighbor and let them know the whole of God is centered right where you are.
The whole of God is centered right where you are. The whole of God is centered right where you are.
Okay, now own it for yourself. All that God is centered right where I am.
All that God is centered right where I am.
All right. So I want to end with a story. And this is a story about a priest and a rabbi and a New Thought minister who all decided to go fishing. And so they went to a local lake and rented a boat and took off for the day. And as the afternoon approached, they realized they were hungry. And then it dawned on them, oh my gosh, we left our lunches on the shore. So the priest got out of the boat, walked across the water, picked up his lunch, walked back, and sat in the boat. And the New Thought minister said, you forgot our lunches. So the New Thought minister got out of the boat, walked across the water, picked up the other 2 lunches, walked back, and sat in the boat. Meanwhile, the rabbi is like beside himself with amazement and awe, and his mouth open, and he sputters, how did both of you do that? And so the priest kind of nudges the New Thought minister and said, should we tell him about the rocks under the water? And the New Thought minister lifts her eyebrow and says, what rocks? So it's about a miracle mindset. She had a miracle mindset, right? So these miracle mindsets of knowing that we live in a state of ease and grace, that all things are possible, the interconnectedness of life, these mindsets allow us to be the place through which seeming miracles take place. And I love that about this teaching. And so it is.